They said I was a failure, that I would never amount to anything. They laughed when I dropped out of college, mocked my side hustle as a pipe dream. But what they didn't know, I was secretly building an empire. I'm Charlotte Thompson. For years, I've lived in the shadow of my perfect family. My father, a successful businessman, always expected the best from his children. My mom, the model of grace, pushed me to be better. And my brother James, the golden child. Ivy League degree, high-paying law job, the respect of everyone. And then, there's me. I didn't finish college. I couldn't keep up with their expectations. I worked a job that no one thought was ever going to lead anywhere. Every family dinner, every holiday, I could see the disappointment in their eyes. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't doing enough. My dad would casually mention, "You need to get serious, Charlotte. No more of this dreaming." And James, always there, with his condescending smirk, "Maybe it's time to face reality, sis." But what they didn't know, I wasn't just sitting around. I was working. I was building something that no one could see coming. Every late night, every weekend spent alone, I poured my heart into my business, my online store, the one they dismissed, the one they thought was a waste of time. But slowly, very slowly, it started working. My products were selling, and the numbers were climbing. Not a lot at first, but enough to make me believe that I could actually do it. I could prove them all wrong. What they didn't see was the sleepless nights, the failures I kept to myself, the rejection emails I turned into motivation. I was becoming someone new, someone my family would one day regret overlooking. I wasn't a failure. I was just getting started. The first few months of my business were filled with doubt, both from my family and from myself. Every day felt like a battle to keep pushing forward. I would come home exhausted from my job, only to spend hours in front of the computer, setting up the online store, designing the products, reaching out to suppliers. My family thought I was just playing around. They didn't understand the countless hours I was putting in, the late-night brainstorming sessions where I figured out new strategies, the financial sacrifices I made to keep things afloat. Every time my dad would call and ask how I was doing, his voice would carry that familiar tone of disappointment. "Still working from home? You're wasting your potential, Charlotte. Maybe it's time you got a real job." It stung every time, but I refused to let him see how much it hurt. I wasn't doing this for him. I wasn't doing this for anyone but myself. I had something to prove, and I was determined to make it happen. My dream wasn't just a hobby. It was a future. I had to keep going, even if no one else believed in me. Then, after months of grinding, the breakthrough came. I had a small, yet consistent stream of sales coming in. My heart raced when I saw the numbers climbing slowly at first, but it was real. I was really doing it. But it was still small, just enough to make my family's doubt even more painful. They were still dismissing me, still doubting everything I was doing. The worst part? They had no idea how much I was sacrificing. There were days when I would skip meals to save money for ads, or when I'd put off socializing with friends because I knew that every minute counted. The pressure was suffocating, and the loneliness grew each day. But then came the first big moment. I received an email from a well-known influencer who wanted to feature one of my products in a video. It was a small endorsement, but it felt like the breakthrough I had been waiting for. It wasn't just about the exposure. It was the validation that someone other than my family saw potential in my business. I quickly set up a meeting with my supplier to place a larger order. I could feel the adrenaline rushing through me as I looked at the numbers. This was the moment I had been waiting for. But then the doubt crept in. What if this was just a fluke? What if I failed? But I couldn't back out now. I had come too far. I had something bigger in mind, and I wasn't about to let fear stop me. So, I took the plunge. I invested in a full stock order and launched a targeted marketing campaign. It was risky, but it was also the only way I was going to make it work. It wasn't long before I felt the real weight of my family's judgment again. The orders were coming in, the sales were climbing, and I had started building a small but dedicated customer base. The business was growing. Slowly, but surely, my empire was starting to take shape. But no one except me could see it. The next family dinner was where everything came to a head. As usual, my brother, James, was there, boasting about his latest promotion, and my parents were hanging on his every word. I could see the pride in their eyes, and I couldn't help but feel like I was invisible, sitting there like a failure in their eyes, even as my business was beginning to flourish. After some small talk, my dad finally turned to me. "So, Charlotte, how's that little business of yours going?" His tone was condescending, and I could feel the judgment in his words. I forced a smile. "Actually, it's going really well. I'm working with a few influencers now, and I've seen a major uptick in sales. Things are really starting to take off." James chuckled, trying to mask his own skepticism. "Influencers? Really? That sounds risky. Maybe you should focus on something more stable. This online thing, it's just a fad, Charlotte." My heart sank. My dad joined in, shaking his head. "Your brother's right. You've been at this for months, and I still don't see it. I want to see you succeed, but this just isn't it." I felt the weight of their words crushing me. Every fiber of my being screamed to walk away, to stop pretending that my business was ever going to be something real in their eyes. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. I excused myself from the table, retreating to the backyard. I needed to breathe. I needed to gather myself before I exploded. I stood there, staring at the empty yard, the weight of their disappointment still heavy on my chest. Why did they still see me as a failure? I wasn't asking for their approval anymore. I was building something real, but all they saw was a dreamer who was bound to fail. Then, as if the universe decided to answer my frustration, my phone buzzed. It was a message from the influencer I had worked with earlier, and the words on the screen almost knocked me off my feet. "Your product is blowing up on social media. We just hit 1 million views, and the sales are skyrocketing. Let's talk about next steps." I couldn't believe it. In that moment, the gravity of the situation hit me. This wasn't a fluke. This wasn't some small, insignificant hobby. I had just hit a major milestone that most people would only dream of. I walked back inside, my mind racing. My family was still sitting there, talking about their day, oblivious to the message I had just received. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. "Actually," I said, taking a deep breath, "I just got a message. We've hit over 1 million views from the influencer campaign, and our sales are higher than I ever expected. My business isn't just a hobby anymore. It's real, and it's growing." The silence in the room was deafening. My dad looked at me, his eyebrows furrowed. "1 million views? Sales are up?" he repeated, disbelief clear in his voice. "And you're telling me this now?" I nodded, trying to hold my ground. "Yes, now. I've been working for this. I've been building it in the background, quietly, but I'm not hiding it anymore. This is my empire, and I'm not going to let anyone tell me it's not real." James didn't know what to say. My mom, on the other hand, looked at me in a way she hadn't before, almost cautiously, as if she was seeing me for the first time. Her voice softened. "Well, that's impressive, Charlotte. I guess we were wrong." For the first time, I felt something shift in the room. Respect. Maybe they weren't fully convinced, but they couldn't deny the numbers. They couldn't deny the success. It was real, and it was happening right in front of them. A few weeks passed, and everything seemed to be falling into place. The influencer campaign continued to spread like wildfire, and my e-commerce business was growing at an unexpected rate. The money rolling in was substantial, and for the first time, I could afford to reinvest it into the business. Bigger orders, more marketing, expanded inventory. But there was something nagging at me. My family still didn't truly get it. Yes, they acknowledged the numbers, but they didn't understand the vision. To them, it was still just a side hustle. They couldn't see the empire I was building behind the scenes. And honestly, it hurt. I had been working nonstop for months, sacrificing my personal life, my time, everything for this, and yet they still viewed it as a fluke. Then came the day that changed everything. The day I decided to take control and finally show them just how big my business had gotten. I invited my family over for dinner again. This time, however, it wasn't just a casual family gathering. I had big news to share, news that would prove I wasn't just a failure. When they arrived, I could tell my dad was in one of his usual moods: business talk, small talk, and, of course, glances at me every now and then, waiting to correct me. James, as usual, was talking about his latest case at the firm, completely unaware of what was about to unfold. After the meal, when the conversation lulled, I stood up. There was no dramatic build-up, just a quiet, steady resolution in me. I was done being the underdog. I had earned the right to be heard. "I need to show you something," I said, pulling out my laptop and opening up my business dashboard. My heart raced as I saw the numbers, the traffic, the sales. This was the moment I had been waiting for, the moment they would finally see my worth. I pressed play on the video. It was a professionally filmed ad I had created with one of the influencers. It had gone viral. As the video played, I watched their reactions. My dad's face was hard to read, but I could see the tension building. James, who had been all smiles, suddenly fell silent. My mom, who had always been cautiously supportive but never truly believed, was staring at the screen, eyes wide with disbelief. The final numbers appeared on the screen, and the room went silent. Over 3 million in sales. 3 million. And this was just the beginning. My dad was the first to speak, but his words weren't what I expected. He didn't scold me, didn't dismiss me. Instead, he said, "I had no idea this was real, Charlotte. I'm impressed." His voice softened, and I could see the respect beginning to form. James, who had been quiet, leaned forward and looked at me. I didn't think this was possible. Honestly, I thought you were just playing around. But I see now that this is a real business." My mom, tears in her eyes, whispered, "I'm so proud of you, Charlotte. I never saw this coming. You've worked so hard." In that moment, I realized something. The validation I had been craving, this acknowledgement from my family, wasn't just about proving them wrong. It was about proving to myself that I had what it takes. I wasn't just the failure they thought I was. I was a success, and I had built it from the ground up, all on my own. But there was no time to savor this victory. There were bigger decisions to make, and as my family's disbelief turned into respect, I knew my journey was just beginning. The business had grown, but the world was still full of challenges, and I had only scratched the surface of what I could accomplish. As the night ended, my dad pulled me aside. "Charlotte, I've been thinking. Maybe I can help with the next phase of your business. I have connections, a few ideas to push it further." I nodded, but deep down, I knew that it wasn't just about his connections anymore. It was about my vision, my drive, and the empire I was building with my own hands. It was a strange feeling, sitting in my office late one night, looking at the success I had built. My company had gone from a small side hustle to a multi-million-dollar business in less than a year. I had proved everyone wrong, but now, the question was, what comes next? The phone buzzed on my desk. It was an email from a major investor. "We're impressed with your company's progress, Charlotte. We want to take it to the next level. Let's talk about expanding internationally." My heart skipped a beat. This was the opportunity I'd been waiting for, but it also scared me. International expansion? That was huge. The stakes were higher than ever before. But then again, if I had taught myself one thing over the past year, it was that I was capable of much more than anyone had ever given me credit for. I sat back, trying to process it. This was the chance to grow my empire even further, to make my vision truly global, but it would require sacrifice: more time, more money, more risks. Could I handle it? I thought back to the family dinner just a few weeks ago. My dad's voice softer than it had ever been before. "I didn't think you had it in you, Charlotte. I'm proud of you." The pride in his eyes made all the late nights worth it, but now I had to decide how far I was willing to go, and I knew that this next step would define me. But even as I sat there, feeling the weight of the decision, I couldn't help but notice that the tables had turned. A year ago, I was the failure, the one with no direction. Now, I was the one being courted by investors, being offered opportunities to expand my business globally. And yet, the most important part of this journey wasn't just proving my family wrong anymore. It was proving to myself that I was capable of so much more than I ever imagined. Just as I was about to draft a response to the investor, my phone rang. It was my dad. I hadn't heard from him in a while. I picked up, expecting another business-related conversation. But instead, he started with something I didn't expect. "Charlotte," he said, his voice cautious but sincere. "I've been thinking a lot about what you've done. I still don't fully understand everything. But I want you to know, I'm proud of you. And if you want to expand internationally, I'm here to help. I've got connections. You've proven yourself, and I know I've been hard on you. I'm sorry for that." For a moment, I was speechless. To hear him say those words felt like a weight had been lifted. The validation, the respect I'd been seeking for so long, was finally there. But I also realized something else. I wasn't doing this for their approval anymore. I had built this empire for me, for my future, for my vision. "I'm grateful, Dad," I said, my voice steady. "But I've come this far on my own. I know what I'm doing, and I think I'm ready to take the next step." As I hung up the phone, I felt a new sense of clarity. The next phase was going to be hard. There would be obstacles. But I knew I was ready. And maybe, just maybe, the world was finally going to see the true Charlotte Thompson. I stood up and looked out the window of my office, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. A quiet smile spread across my face as I thought about all I had accomplished and everything still to come. The journey wasn't over yet. The empire I was building was just beginning. If you've been inspired by Charlotte's journey from being underestimated to building an empire, don't keep this story to yourself. Like this video and share it with anyone who needs to hear that they can overcome any obstacle. We all face moments of doubt, and Charlotte's story is proof that with determination and courage, anything is possible. Subscribe now and stay tuned for more stories of incredible transformations, powerful comebacks, and the strength to defy expectations. Drop a comment below and let us know how you've overcome challenges in your own life. Your voice matters, and together, we can keep pushing forward, just like Charlotte did. Join the community and be part of a journey that proves failure isn't the end, it's just the beginning. Let's build something amazing together.